You are listening to Out of the Darkness by Clarissa Clarke. We've discovered that Alec's house smells like a wet dog rolled in a decaying flower bed. Now we'll focus on interesting bits. Chapter 13. Aunt Pam was the one and only sister of Alec's mother. For most of her life she had avoided her older sister, finding her to be bossy, complaining, and downright mean. Being 20 when the baby was born, Alec's mom found herself to be in the way at home, or totally ignored. Both of those feelings might be considered common with the arrival of a new sibling, but instead of adjusting to life with a sister, Helen simply moved out. She was married soon after to the perfect gentleman who lived 3 hours away. Seeing her family only on holidays made it hard for the two sisters to get to know each other. Not that there was a strong desire from either of them to bond. Helen lacked the patience to deal with the younger. Aunt Pam was afraid the older would bite. Even when Aunt Pam attended college in the town where her sister lived, there seemed little desire to communicate. Alec suspected that the only reason she was in their lives at all was to spend time with him. Over the winter holiday, he had been stuck at his grandparents' house, surrounded by people who talked at him, not with him. Aunt Pam had been the only one to ask what he wanted to do. They ended up spending quite a bit of time together, discovering they liked the same kind of ice cream and quiet corners to work out math puzzles. It seemed to Alec that the adults treated her as if she were his equal, an 8.5-year-old child. To his surprise, she began calling him once a week, and he saved up interesting bits to tell her. This was how she found out that his parents were searching for a new daycare center to control him over the summer. Subsequently, she offered her services. She had finished her student teaching in the spring and had her first summer off from school in years. Her waitressing job kept her busy nights and weekends, but during the day, he was all hers. At 7:15 sharp, he was in her car being swept away from the dungeon. Most days were spent happily in her apartment. Officially, she was now a third-grade teacher, having been offered a job even before her student teaching was finished. This made Alec her perfect test subject, since he would be entering third grade in the fall. No matter how bright her smile, she remained nervous about teaching on her own. Alec enjoyed the challenge of learning new things. It kept him from being bored. The only possible downside to this was that he might become bored in school, having already seen the material. He didn't think that would be an issue, though. He was looking forward to getting his schoolwork done faster, so he would have more time to focus on his mental abilities. Even at Aunt Pam's, he found time to practice. At some point during the afternoon, she plopped on the couch to watch her daytime drama. He was guaranteed at least an hour to himself, and he often disappeared into the kitchen to wash dishes. Out of her sight, he would put the silverware away with the power of his mind. Telekinesis. The plates and glasses would disappear in the same manner. He could dry the dishes and scrub the countertops without ever lifting his hands. Then there were the 15 minutes every day that he went into her bathroom and practiced levitating. At first, he could only control himself in an up and down motion. Now he could flutter like a butterfly around the tiny room. "We're here," she announced in a sing-song voice. Alec returned her grin as he unbuckled. She was almost out of the car when he yelped. "Are you okay?" "Static electricity surprised me." He couldn't look her in the face. She probably wouldn't believe him if he told her the truth. He had been levitating a half-inch off the seat and fell when he leaned over to unbuckle. Was that even what happened? He had been thinking about levitating, but it was a memory. Then again, Alec had the feeling that if he hadn't been buckled in, he would be explaining why he was floating around the car, instead of following Aunt Pam into the restaurant. All through their meal, he was so focused on staying grounded that he almost missed the big thank you speech Aunt Pam laid on him. He had never stopped to think about all the cleaning he did at her house. He'd been having fun. She insisted that her apartment had never been so clean, and she wanted to make sure he understood that she appreciated his hard work. With breakfast behind them and the open mall in front of them, Alec's jitters left him. Oblivious to where they were going, he actually bumped into her when she stopped in front of a store. "Now, which shoes are you going to buy?" She couldn't hide her smile, or the little hopping dance she was doing that warned him she was about to burst. His astonishment, then hesitation, must have shown on his face. He tried to understand, but didn't want to misinterpret. She leaned forward and told him, "I figure I owe you at least $2 a week for all the housework you've done. Since I didn't ask you to do it, I'm hoping you'll continue until the end of summer, and that way I can pay you $22. His hug hit her so hard that she lost her balance and they almost went down. At the last second, she stepped forward and swept him off his feet, twirling in a circle before asking breathlessly, "Now where are those shoes?" There was a bounce in his step as Alec entered the playground that day. Every Wednesday he and Aunt Pam came here, although initially she had protested. Now she looked forward to it as much as he did. First, because the walking trail was perfect. Second, because she enjoyed talking to Verity's mom. A leaping gallon of glee rushed him. "Oh, yeah!" Verity's "You got them!" followed close behind. As they exchanged high fives and Alina added a pat on the back, Alec noticed Aunt Pam watching. "She didn't know we know about your shoes," Alina said. He arched one eyebrow, then lifted one foot so she could inspect his shoe. "How fast can they go?" "Let's test them!" Verity was running before the words were out, and the three friends spent most of their hour racing and climbing and testing Alec's shoes any way they could think of. "I wish Reapy were here to see them," Alec said during one of their breaks. "Send her a message." "With your superpowers." Alina tapped her forehead. Since Alec didn't look like he was comprehending, Verity continued, "Like you talk to us, at the higher level." "But she's on another planet," he reminded the girls. "Doesn't matter," Verity said. Alec wasn't totally convinced she was serious. It didn't seem possible to send his thoughts light years away. "Hello, children." Verity and Alina twittered at his mile-wide eyes. "The girls tell me you have something to discuss, Alec." He could tell she was smiling, and he wondered if she already knew about his shoes, but he told her anyway. To the adults walking nearby, the children looked like they were sitting around grinning at each other, not having a reunion of close friends. "We can talk any time, so do not hesitate to chit-chat, as you say." He promised to talk to her soon, and certainly more regularly. Since their hour was up, and so was the temperature, they said their goodbyes, knowing they would see each other next Wednesday. It was a happy sigh that Alec released when he was back in Aunt Pam's car. She copied him, content, as was he, with the way things were going. That was Interesting Bits, Chapter 13, from Out of the Darkness by Clarissa Clarke. Next, you'll hear A Stupid, Impossible Idea, Chapter 14.